Welcome to Buy, Hold, Sell. My name's Matthew Kidman, and today we have Romano, Sala, Tenna from Katana and Steve Johnson from Forager, and we're talking about Australia getting older. The population is gradually getting older. Demographics, it's always in the paper. It affects certain stocks. Steve, let's start with you. AMP, superannuation, retirement funds, we've got to invest that money as we get older. Buy, hold or sell?
Over the top, Matt. We touched on this in the psychology. I have seen more money lost by people buying themes than in any other way. You don't just need a theme, you need some sort of competitive advantage. So if more capital can come into the space, growth means nothing. That is a caveat over the top. AMP, I think, is in a really difficult structural position. This shift, people are talking about index, but it's really a shift towards low cost in the funds management industry. I think we're in for a world where 4 or 5% is going to become normal in terms of returns. You cannot afford to pay AMP more than 2% of that, and that's their average take on people's investments for delivering average performance. More and more people are waking up to this, and I think it's a huge structural threat to the business, so sell.
AMP, buy, hold or sell, Romano?
Yeah, look, I certainly agree with some of Steve's comments here. I think it's almost become too large for its own good, where it's hard to get meaningful outperformance. I mean, they're a perennial underperformer. They've got pole position in the third largest superannuation pool globally. They should be doing a lot better. Valuation metrics are undemanding, so from our end, right at the moment, it's a hold. But I do think that it's a watching brief.
Health insurance, older people, they claim on their health insurance. Medibank Private, buy, hold or sell?
Yeah, for us, it's a hold/accumulate. The health insurance benefits operating profit has re-rated in line with what we expected pre-IPO. So a lot of the easy money is now being squeezed. There will be incremental gains. It's a good business, high transparency, recurring income, et cetera, et cetera. So there's good growth that'll grind out, but it's also on a reasonable PER or reasonable PEG. So from our end, we think probably around about a hold, but on any weakness, we're happy to accumulate.
It's been a stunning performance since listed, Steve, jacking up prices. Buy, hold or sell?
Really kicking myself on this, Matt. Every time one of these things comes out of the government, you sit there and say, oh, the multiple's a bit high and it looks a bit expensive, and then the cost just keeps coming out. And I think it keeps coming out for longer than most people expect. So there's more efficiency to come here. But the stock price is now up so far that I think that's well and truly factored in. So I would say hold.
Okay. Now, retirement villages, strange structural business in terms of how they charge fees. Ingenia is one of those. Buy, hold or sell?
Yeah, this whole space was the story that I guess I was referring to earlier 6 or 7 years ago, that everyone was saying you got to pile into it and it's been a money pit. I think this Ingenia business is an interesting one. It's the old ING Community Living Group. The guy running it, Simon Owen, came in to fix all of their problems. We owned it from 10 cents up to 50. It's now had a split and it's still roughly at that price. I think he's done a wonderful job, and I think he's doing some interesting things with that business while the share price has gone sideways for 2 years. They're buying these caravan parks and they're turning them into permanent accommodation and lease rentals. The price is factoring in a lot of that growth, but I think he's starting to get some success. You're starting to see cash flow. I would say hold, but keep a really close eye on this for progress.
Romano?
Yeah, look, likewise. I mean, they've got three parts to their business. They're trying to sell a DMF portfolio for around about 60 million, reinvest that into the other two divisions, which are really their cash cows and the bits that we like the most, the retirement villages and the lifestyle accommodation, which have had a lot of success in. Good management. They've got some really good locations that are hard to replicate. And we own this in our portfolio. So from our end, it's a buy. But I agree with Steve, the valuations are getting up there, so we're not wedded to it forever, but right at the moment it's a buy.
Okay, now as far as I know, we can't buy a walking stick company. What is the best thing to buy as the population gets older?
Well, I think one of the key demographics we're seeing is probably not a domestic demographic, it's an offshore one, and that's of course the Asian middle class. That's one of the few demographics that we can actually understand and think has a lot of longevity left in it, and it hasn't been rated in the marketplace. We're looking at Crown Casino. We hold it, much to our detriment at the moment, but we believe that the thesis is intact. We believe it's going to continue. We're on the wrong side of Packer at the moment. When we bought the business, we're on the same side of the table as Packer. We now find we're across the table from him with the potential that he's looking to do there. But nonetheless, we see that as being a good business from these prices.
Grey rinse set. Where do we make money out of them, Steve?
I'm going to stretch things a little bit here, Matt. We got asked about demographics as much as ageing, and I really don't like these themes. So I'm going to run with a little stock that we own called Jumbo Interactive, which sells online lottery tickets. The demographic play there is not really that important because I think the stock is cheap anyway, but I do think as young people move into that older demographic and start doing things like playing lotteries and realise that their savings is not enough to do what they want to do and start spending their money on these types of things, more and more of that market is going to shift online. It's about 12% at the moment of lottery tickets are bought online. Some foreign countries we're looking at 20-30% of the market, and I think it will continue to grow as the younger generation comes through and starts purchasing those sorts of products. It's a very undemanding price. For some good reasons, management have done a pretty poor capital allocation job over the past few years, but they're bringing the business back home, they're focusing on what they do well, and I think that'll be a good story over the next few years.
Well, it sounds like we've got to pension the older people off because they're not going to make us a lot of money.